As you're able, please stand in the reading from the Gospel. Now, every year, his parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover, and when he was 12 years old, they went up as usual for the festival. When the festival was ended and they started to return, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but his parents did not know it. Assuming that he was in the group of travelers, they went a day's journey. Then they started to look for him among their relatives and friends. When they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem to search for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished, and his mother said to him, "Child, why have you treated us like this? Look, your father and I have been searching for you in great anxiety." He said to them, "Why were you searching for me? Did you not know that I must be in my father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them. Then he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. His mother treasured all these things in her heart. And Jesus increased in wisdom and in years, and in divine and human favor. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Who are you? It's kind of a heavy question to ask, isn't it, the day after Christmas? But that's sort of what our text is indirectly asking us to do. And we all know that if we could have had one Christmas gift that would have made all the difference for us, to have gotten the word that a sound sense of self, of who we are, being finished for us, that would make all the difference going forward, right? Because if you have a good sense of who you are, you can live with confidence and freedom all your life long. And if you don't, it's a challenge day after day. But how do you discover your identity? Well, you could go to 23andMe, right, and search your genetic history. And that will take you back only so far. It can tell you a great deal about where you came from, not only who your parents were, I hope you all know that, but also further back in time to even that branch of the human family you came from. I have done this, and it told me, among other things, that I am, by the way, very white. I didn't know if you wondered. Lots of Anglo and Scandinavian back there. But that's not the whole answer to who we are. Biology needs theology to finish the job, to take us back even further. We are spiritual beings as well as physical. And we see this in our text today. Now, I know you think Jesus was born only yesterday, right? It was Christmas yesterday, and we were celebrating his birth, right? And here we are the next day picking up this story when he is 12. Kids grow up fast, don't you know? Well, Mary and Joseph have taken Jesus with them in a large entourage that went up from their home in Galilee to Jerusalem for the Passover feast. It's a day's walk toward home, and they realize that Jesus isn't with them. Now, this is, of course, every parent's nightmare, right? I thought no. If you're a parent, probably you've had that experience at some point. I know I have. And so they rush back to Jerusalem and look for him everywhere. The text says it takes them 3 days to find him. Probably the way Jews counted days back then, it's the first day they lost him, the second day they realized it, and the third day they found him. But who's counting? It was terrible anyway. And when they find him in the temple among the wisest teachers of the faith. And it says that all who heard him were amazed at his understanding of things. So his parents appear, and his mother scolds him for worrying them so. I get that. I mean, if I'm Joseph, I'm thinking, Son of God or not, as long as you're living in my house, right? You're going to respect your father. And then Jesus utters those lines so familiar to us, but so perplexing to his parents in the moment, no doubt. Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house? 12-year-old Jesus already understands the key spiritual thing about his identity. He is the child of God, the son of his heavenly Father, and he is, in fact, respecting his Father. Since Jesus' conception and birth are still fresh in our minds from this weekend, and since Mary and Joseph have lived this story for 12 years now, we should all have figured that this moment was coming. But we should think more deeply about how Jesus came to understand himself in this way. See, sometimes I think we think of Jesus as this one-off character on the stage of history who only appeared to be like one of us, right? Secretly, though, from the manger onward, even when he was in those swaddling clothes, he had the secrets of the universe in his mind all figured out because he was, after all, the Son of God. And that is exactly not what our faith requires us to believe. If Jesus were unlike us in that way, he would be too unlike us to redeem us. He had to learn who he was just the same way we do. And then, maybe better, we have to learn who we are just the same way he did. I mean, imagine the awkwardness of all this for Mary and Joseph. I'm thinking they haven't had the talk with him yet. And I don't mean the birds and the bees. I mean the angels and the shepherds and the wise men talk. I'm guessing they never knew whether they were supposed to. And if they had ever started it, how would they finish it, right? And who would even want to have that talk if you were his parents? They must have known sooner or later, though, that somehow they would have to face this day, the way some of you do when you present your child here at the front of the sanctuary to be dedicated, and I tell you in no uncertain terms that this child does not belong to you, that this child is God's. And then I ask you if you are willing to keep this child within what? The precincts of the temple. Where did I get that language, right? So that they may learn the deepest truth of all about themselves, and that is that they are, first and last, children of God. This is hard for all us parents, but it's absolutely crucial. We have to come to learn this bedrock truth about ourselves without which we will struggle all the days of our lives. You are a child of God. And wherever you live in this world, you are most at home only when you feel yourself at home in the house of God. Now, I love that my mother is in our congregation. Hey, Mom. My dad was too, until his death. They worshiped here with me. And before that, they brought me up in the church. Not this one, but the church. Now, I'm honored to be their son and to have the last name Mason. My family has given me much of my identity. I am named George Mason, after all, after my father and my grandfather, who was a George Mason. What's more, I am the son of a sailor. My father was a ship pilot in New York Harbor, and my grandfather was a docking pilot in New York Harbor. Actually, my great-grandfather was a barge pilot in the harbor. I am not. I could have been, and it might have been expected that I should have been. But my parents made the mistake of taking me to church. So whatever their dreams for me, they kept giving me to the Lord. And what I learned from all of that is what Jesus learned from his parents' faithfulness. I belong to God, and I am most at home in the house of God. And you are too, whether you know it or not. This is indispensable, though, that you learn that it is so. And I will tell you that I know how much pain houses of God have caused some of you over the course of your life. And this is hard for you to hear, but it is also why we have worked so hard in this church over so long to make this a truly inclusive place, so that whoever you are, you can bring your whole self here and know that you are a child of God and you are at home among the people of God. You must know that. See, no matter how great your genetic inheritance, no matter how virtuous your parental upbringing, you will never know yourself rightly until you know yourself as a beloved child of God. And if your nature or nurture was not all that great, then you need to hear this in all caps. You are a child of God. So when Jesus returned to Nazareth, we're told he was obedient to his parents, and his mother pondered these things in her heart. Luke tells us that Jesus increased in wisdom and in years and in divine and human favor. And this language is borrowed precisely from the Old Testament story of Samuel, who was in the temple with the priest Levi, his parents having taken him there. And this is the Bible story Jesus knew, as did his parents. How did they know that? All of them, because his parents took him to church, so to speak. And please hear that, parents. But knowing that we are children of God is not enough. It's what we do about it that matters most, because in the end, who we are is as much about where we are going as where we have been, maybe even more so. We are what we become, and we become what we do. So when the King James translators phrased Jesus' retort to his parents, they put it this way: do you not know that I must be about my Father's business? Now, you heard it differently in our newer translation, but the word translated house can also be translated business. because it literally reads in the Greek, do you not know that I must be in the things of my Father? In other words, Jesus gets that he is his Father's son, and therefore he must be into or about his Father's interests. In the same way, whoever you are and whatever you do with your work in the world, it must proceed from a conscious awareness that you are a child of God. And then your words and deeds, your actions, must reflect the passion and compassion of God, the giving and forgiving of God, the loving of God and your neighbor. Victor Hugo's classic Les Miserables is still playing on some stage somewhere. I mean, it's a movie now too, and in many ways, it's nothing but the retelling of the gospel. The protagonist, Jean Valjean, has come to know himself as a thief on the run. He can never escape his past until he is welcomed in by a kindly priest. The lesson of forgiveness he learns goes straight to his soul. The church, and I love that he learns it in church, teaches him that he is a child of God, and then it sends him out into the world to live into and up to his truest identity. What follows in Les Mis is nothing less than what we learn from Jesus as he ventures forth in the remainder of Luke's gospel. If you are a child of God, you must live like one if you're to know the wonders of God's world and to be welcomed home to God in the end. So Jean Valjean is confronted over and over with what identity will rule his decisions. Will he be 24601, the convict who can never escape his fate, or will he be the man the church has told him that he is, the child of God who need never escape his faith? The song, "Who Am I?" comes at the moment in the story when another man is accused of being Valjean. If that man is sentenced, Valjean is free. But Valjean knows he himself will never be free that way. Listen to the words. How can I ever face my fellow men? How can I ever face myself again? My soul belongs to God, I know. I made that bargain long ago. He gave me hope when hope was gone. He gave me strength to carry on. You are a child of God. And if every day you choose to live like it, you can count on God giving you the strength to journey on. Now, go be about your Father's business. Amen.